Hello guys, welcome back to Owl003. The best remote viewing you're ever going to see is right here on Owl003. Please like, subscribe, and share the content, and please buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com. If you're new to the channel, it's a channel where I do targets, I talk about things. Anyway, today, all things remote viewing. Today we're going to talk about is adapting your remote viewing method for concepts, specifically for gaming purposes. Really, I mean, there's some other things you could use it for, but basically, I'm going to show you some tips here that I use to wager on occasion. I'm not a big fan of ARV. I think it's kind of a bad model, but I'm not going to show you everything because I may do something with this application, but I'm going to show you the big pieces that will be helpful in remote viewing concepts and specifically for like a horse race type of thing. So first I got to explain to you why I do it the way I do it, because I use CRV and I'm pretty dangerous on the dance floor with it. I'm pretty good with CRV. But for this particular application, I didn't feel like it was working very well for me. So I started digging into doing some things to kind of help the situation. So in CRV, let's go through what the process is here. Okay, so CRV stage 1, you do an ideogram process. You have an ideogram. You dissect that ideogram structure. Then you go into stage 2 dimensionals, lower level dimensions. You have an aesthetic impact. You go into kinesthetic sketching. You go into a matrix to break down what's there to its basic components. Stage 5 is to pull out concepts and stuff within the target to break that down to what's there and how it relates. And then CRV stage 6, you go back to clay modeling, and or you start clay modeling, you go back to a matrix. Okay, so when you're dealing with a real legitimate target, like for instance, let's say an old castle, okay, that exists somewhere in England or wherever, right? So you go into your session, you do your coordinate, you do your ideogram process, and so just so you guys understand, this is basically a big part of what I'm going to show you here. Because ideogram is a technology definition, the application of scientific knowledge for practical purposes. So it's a great application for opening the door to a target, but it also has other uses. Same kind of thing, but I'll explain. So during CRV, you could break this down. Now this target, it's not going anywhere per se. It exists in reality. When I draw out impressions, when I lick for textures, when I stick out my hand for taste, when I stick out my hand for textures, and listen for sounds, I'm evoking what is actually there in reality. It's not going anywhere, okay? So I could take as much time as I need, really, as far as in the bigger scheme of things. But what I realized with horse racing, I saw this name not too long ago. So, just to give you an example. So, Princess Cruisin'. So this is a horse name, which is like a kind of a weird concept usually. It could be all a kind of manner of strange things. But let's say for example's sake, let's say this is the winning horse's name, first place. And we go into the ideogram process. 1, 8, 3, 4, 6, 2, 7, 0. Okay, I got angled over, angled down. and you're taking all this time, you're breaking all this down. Well, this doesn't exist. This is a concept. So what I realized when I was going through my basic kind of thing, I'm trying to evoke textures, taste stuff, and I would kind of get stuff, but none of it really equated to what the horse was. It just was kind of like random information, right? And when I would reach for textures and stuff, I wouldn't really feel anything, which to me makes sense because there's nothing there. So in remote viewing, you'll do a ideogram process, break it down. You'll make a declaration of whatever this is, say a structure, and you move on to your other impressions. So let's see, where was I going with this? But so in this case, with this name, since you don't have anything here, okay, there's nothing here in reality. Those tools that are incorporated in CRV aren't all that helpful because that's kind of meant for a reality-based target. So I was getting at. So when you're trying to remote view a concept, so you do this, you're getting angles and stuff, AOL break, building. And then you kind of break off of that concept. That's your pre-assumption. And you're waiting for that to dissolve so you could keep following your stage, your stages. That's kind of how you're trained to do it. So in a very rudimentary sense, you're kind of trained to like arrest these, set them down, and declare them, put them to the side, and then kind of refocus. Well, in a concept where you're remote viewing something like this, the AOLs are actually kind of your friend. So it's almost it's almost like the opposite of remote viewing in a way. Like you're drawing on like a concept that your subconscious has put together for you. Okay, so what I found is, so I go through this whole, I can go up all the way to a stage 6, garbage, doesn't refer to anything. Take an hour on this session and it gives me nothing related to that. But what I did find is when I would hit the ideogram, let's see, 1, 8, 3, 4, 6, 2, 7, 0, go into my ideogram, and I would immediately feel drawn in to some ridiculous concept, okay? I don't break it all down. I don't do an A and B. I lean into this AOL hard, okay? And I'll just sketch away. And while I'm sketching, I might get colors, blues. This is a very fleeting thing when you're doing this. Because again, it doesn't exist. When you're doing a castle somewhere or something, it's there. It's not going anywhere. When you reach out, you can feel the texture, kind of psychically. So here, what will happen is you will get some silly concept, okay? And like say you get, so I'm getting this woman with a crown. So I'm getting like high-speed chase. It's all like on the first page, right? And you'll kind of go into this conceptual sketch, and you may see visuals with it, you may not. But it's kind of like in the beginning when you're learning the ideogram, like you're trying to catch this quick response. Because what will happen is if you do all this, if you break all this stuff down and all this, that fleeting thing will be gone. And then you're just back to taking inventory on something that isn't there. So what I found is if you take that ideogram or the coordinates, you do your ideogram, you drive it right into this thing, you're labeling all your concepts as you go, quite often, you'll get right on that first page, you'll get a concept of the winner. So if you continue on like this, you could do another sketch or two. Because what'll happen is if you want to keep your focus on that primary concept, because if you do much moving around and stuff, you'll like go maybe to the next best horse, or you'll start doing it something else. So that's my big tip for you. I think that if you guys like practice this, you might make a few bucks. For me, it's far more effective than straight up CRV for this application. And you get it done in like 5-10 minutes. You may AOL the number, but you'll be surprised how creative your subconscious is coming up with these concepts. Okay, so at first, I wouldn't, now I have other tools that I've adapted to this. I wouldn't go much further than this initially, but you can figure out your own tools outside of this. But there's a couple other things that may help you that I will tell you. So first off is time. What I mean by that is if let's say you're doing this, you're trying this application on a horse race, see if you can get a race that's out a ways. So you could, because it may take a bit for it to kind of come to you as far as what your subconscious is trying to tell you. Okay. So if you could put it out a day, or whatever, just to kind of like let things settle, that I think that's good. You wouldn't want to feel rushed doing it. 2, overuse. Here's what I mean by this. You may start doing this and you may have some beginner's luck, and you start to get kind of like, oh, let's keep doing this, keep making money. First of all, I'd recommend, something like this, my recommendation, 1 a week. And I would do other work. If I were you, I wouldn't do more than 1 of these a week. If you don't get anything the first time, maybe do 1 more. But there's a couple reasons for that. One is if you do even short little burst targets like this, there's like a residual of impressions. You have to kind of let that stuff die down. Otherwise, you'll drag it in. Even with something this small, you'll kind of drag these old. It has to like completely disappear from your mind. So you need time for that. Other reasons is this is supposed to be fun. Don't take this and think you're going to make a fortune out of this. Do this with yourself or with a couple of friends, and make it fun. Try and get consensus. Tasking. Be as specific as you can. Make it clear you're looking for the winning horse and only the winning horse. Okay, the first across the finish line, however you want to do that. Another thing I do is you're going to get a list of horses, like 1 through 13 horses, okay, with a bunch of random names, okay? And to make up a concept for some of these names, like like to come up with a concept could be quite difficult. Some of them are really easy. Some of them are more difficult. So what I tend to do is you know, there's what we talk about, a feedback loop, and when it comes to straight remote viewing, I try to, you know, kind of get my subconscious to not get wrapped up into that if it can. But because I believe that you might be pulling information from all different directions. So, but when you do something like this, I kind of allow it to kind of work with that ideology, and I don't know for certain if it's helpful or not, but here's why. So you've got 13 horses. So what I'll do after I do my session, even though once I've made the decision of what I think my horse is, I will go back and say, okay, horse one was number one was all in. So then I will make a sketch of that I could represent, like, you know, arrows pointing in here, in case that my subconscious doesn't already have an existing message or concept that they could push across the line for me. So my thinking on this is that with a lack of nothing, if it could pull, then hopefully it could pull this image through the feedback loop, so you have something to work with for all the horses. And then say your next one is Princess Peach. So I will do a princess, you know, sitting on a peach, big peach. And I'll go through all the names, even the most difficult ones. I'll give something. And even the one that I did pick, what I'll do is I'll sketch pretty much exactly what I sketched in my original session. Okay? So by doing this, hopefully, in theory, you're giving the subconscious even a better shot of putting this together by pulling in something from, you know, from the future. So this is a lot of fun. Like I said, I wouldn't get carried away with it. It's really exciting when it works. And what I love about this is, you know, I wouldn't even call it like remote viewing, because you're getting, you know, it's more like a psychic data stream or something. But what's amazing to me is, you know, I'll show examples if I ever do something with this, but that first conceptual sketch, when it works, it's beautiful. How clear it is, what it's indicating. Trying to think if there's any other tips related to this. And like I said, I would just work it in for fun. But I've seen it work. I've seen it work pretty well. And that's the way I do it. So there you go. I have adapted, that's how I've adapted my remote viewing for this kind of application. And, you know, when you're doing this, don't be afraid to try something else. What else is great about it too is, if you don't bet and you're just trying to see like what, it's a good sandbox for experiments, in my opinion, with gambling. But so, like I said, like, subscribe, share the content, buy me a coffee if you like, and we'll catch you next time on Owl 003.